Type 8, the protector. Oh my goodness, I've been working with so many eights lately. My practice seems to be loaded with them. And the biggest thing to remember about eights is it's about power and about control. And so with every Enneagram type, there's some sort of focus of attention that limits their worldview. And for eights, what they're paying attention to is who has the power, who does not, how do those with the power wield the power, who's weak, who's not. And sometimes, there can be a desire to intimidate people. And for a lot of them, what I hear is one of the most common things is I am so blown away that people feel intimidated by me because I don't feel like that on the inside. A lot of times, eights have what I call, it's almost like a marshmallow heart. And I think I've shared this with some of you, is how often I'll see eights where they may have some huge office or huge car, or they present themselves really big. It's like really a solid way of presenting, of walking into the room, owning the room, very comfortable, not trying to do it oft times. And they'll get surprising feedback that people feel intimidated by them. So, the thing is they're aware of this vulnerability inside of themselves. And so what you want to do is you want to power up, armor up in order to feel big. And the idealized self-image is I am powerful. And the avoidance is vulnerability and weakness. So with every Enneagram type, there's also a defense structure that holds the type together. So if you're wanting to be powerful, you're wanting to avoid weakness, the primary defense mechanism here is denial. And it's a denial of my vulnerability. Perhaps it might even be a denial that, I can't work 20 hours a day, or I can't go full steam ahead. One of my favorite stories of an eight was her talking about how she was trying to open a wine bottle, and she's got the corkscrew, and she's jamming this corkscrew in, and she couldn't get it open. And she looks down, and she realizes it's a screw top. And it's that thing about applying the proper amount of force. For eights, it's, kind of the jam in and this recognition. Sometimes all you need is a screw top. You need to do a slight rather than And so that's why sometimes with eights, they might work out. If they're workout people, they might work out too hard. At work, they might go at it too hard, and they don't really realize their limitations. So if you're in a relationship with an eight, what can you expect? Well, expect to be tested. Eights want to know that you're going to show up. You're going to be there. If you want to be, eights would much rather you be direct and name it and say it rather than what they might call pussyfooting around. They'd like you to see life force in the relationship and some vitality, a kind of deadened energy. You might start to notice they're going to push up against that. Are you here? Are you alive? So there's this kind of way of making contact. And sometimes it's a physical contact. I know a young eight where he just kind of comes up and almost bumps up against you. And it also can be contact through a shared difficulty, that we're in this struggle together and we're going through this together. Or it could be something, one of my closest friends in high school, and that was about going out and having us a really good time. And it was a big time. And you're going to notice that for eights, anger flares quickly and then it's forgotten. And sometimes they're surprised. They'll say, God, I felt like they were like dead bodies on the roadway. And all I thought was, I was just trying to be direct. And they've completely forgotten about it. It's eliminated from their awareness. And because the reason they're direct like that is it serves almost a protective function. They feel vulnerable, hit hard. And then they forget about it. Like all body types do, they tend to forget about these big emotions. Sometimes that big anger is a request to connect more deeply. If things are feeling fuzzy, can you connect to a time when you almost stirred something up to make it come alive? That's how it is for eights. They want to see, what are your emotions? What is the truth of the matter? Where do you stand? So I'm going to push up hard against you. And then when people react in a way that's real negatively, it can be really painful to an eight. A lot of them tell me, I really wished I hadn't said that. I really wished I hadn't been so direct. Or I really wished I hadn't just blurted that out. So they can tend to retreat. They can tend to pull back if they feel like they can't quite trust the relationship. And from an Enneagram perspective, they go to type 5, withdraw from the situation, withdraw from contact. And sometimes your ambivalence, your way of not showing up, where, in terms of how they see it, can feel very threatening. So it's helpful to put all your cards on the table. Tell them where you are. It's interesting, 8s oftentimes see misinformation, or it could be something as little as naming the wrong restaurant where you were supposed to meet. It can feel like a small betrayal. 8s are also aware of their big energy, so you can see kind of strict control followed by bouts of disobedience. They want to make the rules, and they'll break the rules. The 8 in your life can be a tower of strength under pressure. You can feel protected. You can feel like they'll show up, but don't manipulate it. They will smell manipulation a mile away and will react against it, and you are not going to get them to do what you want them to do through any kind of a manipulation. And for some people, they may not even be aware they're trying to manipulate, but 8s can smell it. So if you're an 8, it's helpful for you to learn how much force is necessary. For instance, the corkscrew example. You don't need to do the, stomping against it when it's a slight turn of the screw. So pay attention, and that's going to require a pause. Stop. Notice your impact on others. Practice empathy. Practice seeing something through someone else's point of view, because like all body types, you could have strong feelings in the body and then lock down on your perspective and not be able to see another perspective. The only way to get there is through your heart. And that's having empathy for yourself when you've messed up, having some self-compassion, and not seeing it as weak, because, feeling weak makes you feel defenseless, but opening up to yourself and opening up to others, and that'll allow you to see and appreciate other perspectives, other truths. Allow for personal vulnerability. Start with people you trust, because it doesn't always mean weakness doesn't, or vulnerability doesn't always imply weakness. So I hope you find this helpful. Feel free, if you're an 8 or if you're in a relationship with an 8, to respectfully comment below. Remember, these are real human beings, and there's very healthy expressions of every type and unhealthy expressions of every type. So I appreciate you not objectifying anybody of any of the types when you make a comment. Thank you. Have yourself a good day.